Hi guys, in this lesson we are going to see what is this primitive and non-primitive data types are. Okay, here we have a fresh Android Studio project. Then we can create a int data type like this. Here we have a x variable and we can set some value to it. Okay, this is a primitive data type. Okay, this is a primitive data type. But have you ever seen something like this? Okay, we can set it to 1 like this. Let's say 10. Now this is a non-primitive data type. This is a non-primitive data type. Actually it is similar to this int. Okay, here we can also have numeric values. For example, we can set this to negative number and we can also set this into negative number. There are no number called negative 0, then we can say negative 1 to this. Now the thing is, when it's come to primitive, a primitive type has always a value. That means we can always have a value to this int variable. But when it's come to non-primitive data type, we could set null instead of a value. A value can be a null. Okay, and further we can change that y into a value, like this. It is okay. But here when it's come to a primitive, we cannot set that into a null. We always have to provide a number or numeric value, or particular value depends on the primitive data type. For example, let's say it's Boolean, we have to provide whether it's false or true. Now we can skip that value to this primitive. That means this is just a variable declaration, but the value is not assigned. We can assign the value later to this primitive data type. It is okay. Also, when it is come to non-primitive, we can set value later. But here we cannot change that into null. Primitive data type should always have a value. But when it is come to non-primitive, it can contain a null like this. That means there are nothing. Okay. Now the thing is, when it is come to non-primitive, we can do built-in operations to that non-primitive data type. For example, here integer non-primitive data type has various operations like equals, double value, compare to, and here built-in methods available. When it is come to this primitive data type, there are no operations that we can do with that variable. Here again, when it's come to non-primitive, we have multiple operations like conversion. Okay, right. There are many type of non-primitive data types. Also, when it's come to primitive, we can see there are Boolean. Let's say it's okay. We can keep it empty and set that later as false. But there are a non-primitive data type called Boolean. It is start from capital B. Now we can say is no. Then we can also set this to null. But when it is come to this primitive data type, we have to always provide a value. We cannot provide null. Okay, when it is come to primitive data type, we cannot provide this null. Here This is a non-primitive variable. Let's go ahead and try to set this is no to null in the below. Is no null. Okay, we can do that after declaration, but if value is not assigned yet in the below, we can set it into the null. But if it has a value here, we can also set it into the null. Okay, that's even okay. For example, is no that have false now in the below, we change it into null again. That's okay. Here we can see what are operations available for this built-in Boolean non-primitive data type. Compare to and equals. Okay, these are available. Now we can see there are another non-primitive data type called string. You might know this. This is also a non-primitive data type, which means that could contain a null value like this. And also we can see there are multiple operations that we can do with this string non-primitive variable. Here contains, contents, equals, end with, index of, and split substring. There are multiple things to available this non-primitive. Okay, I hope you clearly understand this non-primitive and primitive data types are, and I'll see you in the next lesson. Thank you.